In this next video, we're going to be adding image props that use a mask. I found this image online and I want to really only have this shape, this whatever this wall decoration piece is. So I'm going to use my traditional selection tools here. I need to change my workspace to essentials so I can use that object selection tool, and I just want to select around that object. Hopefully that works pretty clean. Indeed it does. Oh, I missed a little bit, so just go in and clean that up. Don't want to lose that. Okay, so that looks pretty good. And so now I need to get rid of this background. And there's two different ways I can set this up. And I want to show you how to do this image prop in two different ways in case you just never know what's going to happen. So the first step I'm going to do is copy and paste this. So Control C, Control V. So I have only that on the layer. So I end up just with this image. And turn that back on. I need to make that selection again. So I'm going to hold the Command key down to here, go back down to my background, and inverse the selection. So again, I'm doing this two different ways. You wouldn't necessarily do it this way. I just want to show you two different ways. So instead of a background that has different things going on, I don't want all that in there. And this is going to set up how to use the mask and not use the mask in Vectorworks. So if I was going to be using a mask, then I want to select a color for this background that has nothing whatsoever to do with the color of the object I'm going to keep. So I'm going to go find this, maybe a magenta color might work pretty well. And I'm going to fill that background with that magenta color. Deselect. I might as well crop it here because I don't need all of that information. I just need the shape itself. So you'll find your own object and maybe have to do this to it. All right, so I've got this. I'm going to save it this way. And we'll do save as, name it wall object 1. I want to save this as a JPEG. And because I have layers, remember, it's going to want to save it as a copy. That's okay. It just means it's going to save it flattened, and then it's going to bring back to my object here. And the second way to do this is I'm going to turn off the background layer, and I just have my layer with nothing else on it except for that object. And this time, I'm going to save this as a PNG file. So go down, find PNG. This is wall object, call it wall object 2. So we've got our first wall object here and as a JPEG, and then we have the PNG. Okay, so now that I've got those figured out in Photoshop, I can hide that. Go back to my model here, and I'm going to apply that. I'm going to apply those as image props in my model here. So I'm going to go first of all to the under model down to create image prop. I'm going to import, find that. We'll start with this wall object one with the pink background. All right, so I'm going to decide how big I want it to be. I probably don't want this to be that big since my walls are 14 feet tall. So let's change it to maybe 6 feet tall. I've got to add that little foot mark there. That might be appropriate. We're going to place these on these side walls here. And this time I want to use a mask. And I'm going to create the mask using this image, this prop's color. So I want to reuse an image and use that prop. So it's going to bring up the next one, and we want to choose a transparent color because we don't want that pink to show up. We want it to show up as little as possible. And now I just need to go into this side, click in that pink area, and you will see it's created a mask around that pink area. So where it's black will not be visible, and where it is white is what's going to be visible. Okay, so you can do this with other objects that maybe have a more complicated background. It's easiest if you have a single solid background, but you can go in and do some fine tuning, mask the contrast. Like, see, if I bring that down, it starts to pull out some of those pinks maybe within the object itself. But if I bring that way up, it's really going to only find that pink color. So we're going to say OK. Again, I don't want to have the auto rotate to viewer for this one. And take a second, and it will pop it right in there. And so now we have this image prop. And if we look at it a little bit closer here, if I just inserted it into the wall, if I zoom in, you can see there's a little hint of that pink outline around there. But for the most part, everything else is transparent, which is what we want. So in order to put this on this angled wall, I'm going to have to actually angle the object. So let's go to a top plan view. And I'm going, this is the wall here. This is the overhang of the cornice. So I want to place this, I'm going to put one corner here on the wall, let it touch the wall. We'll deal with where it is within the wall here in a minute. But mostly this is just to get it so that it is in line. And then use the rotate tool, click on that point that's touching the wall, click on a point along the wall or on the object, click on that. And then maybe just kind of use the nudge key to pull it away from the wall a little bit so it doesn't get embedded in the wall and lost. And looks like it's not quite centered. I would like this to be centered. So I'm going to go back to my Move by Points tool, click on the insertion point. That is probably the midpoint of the wall. And again, I'm going to use the nudge tool just to pull it out just a little bit. If I go back to a front view, open GL, it's a little bit low on the wall, so I should be able to go in here and change. Let's see what happens if we put it to make the Z height 4 feet. There we go. That looks pretty good. So I've placed that on the wall, and when I move around in my flyover tool, it looks like it's attached to the wall. So we're going to do the same thing, but use the PNG file just so you see how it works differently. And I'm going to go to Model, Create Image Prop, Import an Image File. And this time we're going to choose our PNG. And it's remembered the dimensions here, so we'll keep it the same height. Again, we're going to use a mask and create a mask. Reuse this prop's color. Now this time, if you'll notice, it's brought up this extra selection. So alpha channel is, with the PNG, the alpha channel is that background that doesn't exist anymore. So this is very useful. So we say we want to use that alpha channel. It automatically knows what it is. Again, unselect, auto rotate the viewer if it was selected. Give it a second, and it pops in. It's back behind the. It is in a strange place. But if I zoom in on this one, and we'll put it in the right spot again, notice that there's no pink outline. So this is a very useful way to, bringing in a PNG is much cleaner than just bringing in the JPEG. So you have the skills in Photoshop to be able to cut that out, put it on its own layer, turn the background off, save it as a PNG, and then you can import files for image props in Vectorworks very easily. So it got embedded into that window for some reason. So we're going to bring it over here. And this time I'm going to go ahead and just make my point here the center, and a little bit easier to find that middle from the get-go. Rotate, and I'll rotate from the center point rather than the end. And it should rotate the whole object. line it up, use my nudge, again, hold the shift key, use the arrows, and it will move it just a few little pixels away. Now, in general, the nudge tool in Vectorworks is not a great idea. Most of the time we want things to snap to other objects, but things like image props and furniture positions and things that are not actually connected to other things, things that are not as important to be connected to other things can be nudged nice and easily. Back to OpenGL. Then it's down on the floor, so we need to slide that up. I think we made the other one 4 feet, so we'll make this one 4 feet as well. Go back to a perspective view. And there you have it. So we've got a little bit of wall decoration. We've got a background image in there. And you can add as many picture props, image props that you might like for this.